mean,
All right, so back to our process a little bit. So we meet formally every quarter. Uh, First, there's a formal meeting with the joint CAG and the RC to discuss the agenda items that we've sent out to everybody in advance. So, any administrative stuff, any updates to the rules, and of course, any of the cards that we're going to talk about.
yeah. So the interesting thing to me is that the quarterly RC meeting used to be a lot. I don't want to say bigger is maybe not the right word. It used to be a lot weightier than it is now. One of the big changes in the past 2-3 years is because of the rise of Discord, we've had active conversations going far more aggressively than we ever did in the past. In the past, it was very much, well, we get together and we meet at Pro Tours and Grand Prix,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have our formal quarterly meeting. The formal quarterly meeting used to be a 3-4 hour affair because we would discuss everything that needed to be talked about in regards to Commander.
IRC, baby. IRC all the way.
Yeah, I mean, well, we did, but we didn't use IRC in the because I was on IRC for many years, but we didn't use IRC in the same way that we've used Discord. So now,
Right.
in a lot of ways, we have the ongoing conversation with the CAG, but we also have the ongoing conversation with the RC. And so the CAG meeting is a lengthy, convoluted meeting where everybody brings up all the points they want to bring up, and there's lots of discussion. And that one is a 3 to 4 hour meeting because there's 10 voices in it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the RC meetings are getting shorter because the RC is constantly talking to each other. So we just, in many ways, the RC meeting is a CAG post-mortem.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the very same point that while we do have a formal meeting every quarter to sort of put the stamp on the things that we've decided, it's really it's just the end of a 3-month long process. So once one quarter is done, we start with the next quarter, and we're already having the next discussion there is to be had.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we don't, aside from emergency situations, we don't make formal official decisions outside of the RC meeting. But a lot of the formal official decisions are, okay, we already have spent a month discussing this thing. Let's have the formal vote and determine, yes, we're going to do this thing. No, we're not going to do this thing. Mm-hmm. So the RC meeting's actually down to usually an hour or so after the CAG meeting, where we just sort of go, okay, well, we've gathered all the data. Any final thoughts? We've been talking about this for a while. Let's vote. Which has been interesting because it does mean that we're sort of having a much more aggressively ongoing conversation. We're talking about things this week that the next RC meeting is Zendikar Rising in September? Right. Yeah, I mean, we won't formalize any processes, but we will definitely be chatting about stuff right now. And it also has given us this ability to more aggressively throw out crazy things just for discussion and chats. And, hey, maybe we should talk about this, or hey, what about this wild idea? And Gavin's always coming up with crazy new formats and stuff he wants to talk about. And, well, what do we do? How do we talk about this thing here? And, well, Toby throws out some crazy new rule idea and all the rest of it. And that because it's an ongoing conversation, I think we're more willing to be creative and throw out weird ideas that we know probably won't go anywhere, but are worth just chatting about to see what happens.
Yeah, we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait until there's the formal meeting to do the thought exercises, right? We have, and there'll be times when one of us will post something in the joint RC CAG Discord channel. Hey, this is a thought process. This is not something we're thinking about. How about this wild idea? Mitigating the the player 4 disadvantage or whatever. Here's an idea. Let's chat about it. Both, and I think one of the things that we like to do, especially with the CAG, is both tell us what you think about the idea in general, and then if we were to adopt the idea, what would be the best way to implement it? And sometimes it's like, no, that's a terrible idea. Forget you ever thought about it.
No.
Move along.
You never forget, because yes, there are lots and lots of terrible ideas, and that is fine. We welcome terrible ideas. We have multiple people around for the sole purpose of If you have one person with terrible ideas, they implement terrible ideas. If you have 4 people and one person has a terrible idea, the other 3 can tell them that's a really terrible idea. And Sturgeon's law applies here, is that by definition, 90% of the things you're going to come up with are in fact going to be crap. Right. And that's fine, because that other 10% are where you make really concrete improvements to the format. And so I like it when people throw out ludicrous things that I can tell them, okay, that's ludicrous, because one, that means they're thinking creatively and they're doing interesting things, right. And B, they can take it back and they can say, well, I've just gotten feedback about why it's ludicrous. Can I make it so that it isn't ludicrous? Can I make this better in a way that lets us, actually have? I go back the next time and you're all like, that's really cool now. Let's just do that. So people are like, oh, the RC must only think great thoughts and have that. No, the RC needs to have terrible ideas, because you start with terrible ideas, you get to good ideas, and that's true of everything we do. When I do other magic writing, when I write the IPG, I have lots of terrible ideas there. I have people sending me terrible ideas. Some of those terrible ideas have turned into some of the most important concepts in magic, just not on the first draft.